Well, it's time for another episode of the SPL Weekly Recap out there, Smite fans, with Finch and Dave. You know how this works. We write these scripts for each other and then read them for the very first time here as part of this show. That way you get to see all the flubs and mistakes happening live and in person. So I'll be starting us off. While Week 12 was a very lengthy one as far as total games go, Friday was the exception to that trend. The weekend started with Radiance tanking on Sanguine. Radiance just recently broke a 5-set loss streak, brutal, with a win over E United. So taking on Sanguine was a chance to really get things back on track. Sanguine was up to the task, though, however, and grabbed a 2-0 set win. Game 1, Yarkor brought about the re-rise of Cthulhu with a 7-0-5 KDA, and as his followers say, that's how they talk. There isn't much to say for Game 1. Sanguine get a clean win, only losing a handful of deaths the entire game. If you couldn't understand that, that's just because the madness is creeping in, is what that is. Game 2 feels like Shinto on Hebo versus Cyclone Spin on set ADC. This was a bit of a brawl with 64 total kills by the end of it. Both junglers have a rough go of things as well, but ultimately the 18-6-8 on Hebo for Shinto shines a little brighter and Sanguine take the win. Dave will take us through the second set on Friday.
Oh, just so you know, I kind of pre-vetted that Cthulhu chant there, and you didn't say anything too risky there as far as putting words out in the universe, so that's good. That's right, the final set on Friday saw the top of the league face off against the bottom, SSG versus Obey. The match didn't play out quite like a mismatch, though. Obey gave SSG a run for their money with a new composition that caught them a bit off guard. In the end, however, it's still a 2-0 favoring SSG as Obey can't quite close out their games. The new composition I mentioned for Obey was a double Hunter comp, and with an Athena solo and a Nemesis in the jungle. The comp makes sense. You have an Athena for setup, Nemesis for prot shred, and Hunters to melt whoever the target is. But SSG handle it well in both games. Game 1, they had to overcome an early Obey lead, but in Game 2, they seem to have things figured out. Nika brings out the Chang'e solo, but it's Vote's Hachiman that ends up being the real hero and helping SSG defeat Obey 2-0. Alright, on to Saturday and the rescheduled PK set.
That's right, though I am starting to feel the madness creep in, so I might have actually summoned an Eldritch Horror. Saturday starts with a barn burner between Radiance and PK, two teams who seem closely matched, but PK are coming off a small break from games, a break that came during the peak of one of the hottest streaks in the league for PK. Ultimately, Radiance shrug off their early weekend woes and defeat PK in 3 games. PK seemed to be a little groggy from their mid-split break at the start of the set. Radiance get another run at their new favorite comp with Set, Morrigan, Guanyu, Tsukiyomi, and Nike, and this time it works, like really, really well. It takes until the Titan defense for PK to get a kill in Game 1, but in Game 2, PK would arise from their slumber just the same and return the favor with a set performance of their own in similar fashion. So we move on to the first Game 3 of the weekend, a game where Zapman does his best confused Travolta impression looking for his boys, while the pressure from BMT on Discordia rips apart PK. Not that it was easy, the Knights hung in there, but Radiance win a nail-biter with some massive damage numbers. Luckily for me and maybe you, Dave will be with you for the last 2 sets on Saturday.
Thanks, Finch. I will indeed be handling the regularly scheduled matches for Saturday. Help us keep the flow, you know? PK versus Ghost was the second match of the day, and PK just came off their loss that Finch covered over to Radiance. If that loss affected them, though, PK didn't show it. The rise through the ranks continues as they managed to win 2 very close games over Ghost and maintain their top 4 in the standings. PK and Ghost go back and forth in this one, neither team letting a setback get them down. The difference in Game 1, though, was Paul Set and Scary D's Cthulhu. Ghost were actually sieging PK's base at the end of Game 1, but Scary Cthulhu ult drops a bunch of Eldritch unknowable horror at his feet, and Ghost are forced to scatter. There's a theme here with our script this week. PK finds some picks in the chaos and then pushed down to end the game. Game 2 was just as close, but PK established a big lead with a clean Fire Giant fight. Zapman really stepped up on Heimdall, turning in a 7-1 and 10, not too shabby, KDA to push PK to a 2-0 win over one of the best teams in the league. Time for me to throw it to Dave for the third set. Thanks, Dave. It's time to break down Space Station versus the Renegades, and for that, it's me, Dave. Anyway, the SSG, the first-seeded team in the league, take on the Renegades, who are about as up and down as a team can be. This set is kind of close, at least Game 1 is, but if you ask Raffer, it's more about the boys trolling a bit than anything else. Overall, once SSG recover from Game 1, they go on to finish off the set quickly, finding the nice 2-0 win. As I said, Game 1 was close, largely because of Jake playing well in Hercules in the early game. SSG, though, like clockwork, start to come alive around the 21-minute mark or so, and the real nightmares are the side lanes. Nika and Vote dominate the late game, and SSG eventually overcome Renegade's strong defense. Game 2, the not close part. Cheerio gets Erlang Shen and then does the Erlang Shen things to Renegades for about 21 minutes. I'm pretty sure you like your jungler getting 11 kills and your support assisting on 21 of the 22 total kills by the end of the game. Yeah, I do. It never happens to me, but I would like it if it were to happen. SSG, after Ghost stumble against PK, now are the sole owners of the #1 spot. Alright, I finally get to shut up and let Finch back in for Sunday.
Yeah, Dave, thanks for finally bringing it back to me. I'm still tired after Sunday, but let's just be honest. Sunday had 2 separate 3-hour sets, the first of which was Obey versus Radiance. And if we have learned anything recently, and that is unlikely for Dave, it's that Obey are going to be competitive in every set that they play. Every team in the SPL will be, for that matter. A few lengthy games spell a close set, but one that Radiance would win 2-1. Radiance get put on the back foot early as Obey hang on in Game 1 for about 50 minutes in order to turn around pressure in the late game. It seemed long, but I got to hang with Mifflin for free for nearly an hour. I'd pay for that kind of time normally. Yeah, I gotta pay for that. Sino shows us Osiris in the jungle, something I suppose you need to just get used to, and the rest of the boys are there with him for the win. Radiance, specifically Benji, awakens for Game 2, and the Sun Wukong Persephone combo would prove to be way too much for Obey. 11, 3, and 13 seems good to me, and it is good enough for Benji to send us to Game 3. Unfortunately for Obey and fans of close sets, Game 3 was not all that close. Aurora dies a few times, Adapting dies a couple of times, and that's it. Radiance nearly blank Obey in the third game behind great performances from the carries and Benji. Radiance appear to be back to form, just like Dolson the Zaddy with the puppy, who will take us through our final set on Sunday.
Just to be clear, somebody said that to me on Twitter, and so I had to put it in here. I didn't know what it meant, but hopefully nothing too bad. All right, the final set of the week was an absolute banger, so buckle in if you're going to go back to watch it. The second 3-hour set of the day on Sunday may have fried our brain cells, but that didn't mean the games weren't good. SSG and E United battled all the way to 3 games, but with both teams looking dominant at certain points. But it's Sanguine who managed to edge out E United for the 2-1 victory. It's hard to boil down a 60-minuter to a couple of sentences, but Shinto's Game 1 Merlin performance is the highlight. 6-1 and 14 with 51,000 player damage sounds A-okay to me. Game 2 serves as a great advertisement for Raw Heals. Who needs Rejuve tape when you can have Solar Blessing? Hurry when you keep Snoopy sustained so he can go 10-1 and 6 in 34 minutes. The final game was close the whole way, but Sanguine get an FG, use a Horus ultimate to sneak to the right Phoenix, burn it, and find a couple of picks. Turn off the lights, this one's over as Sanguine managed to barrel into the Titan room and win 2-1. What a week, huh? That's gonna do it for us in Week 12 after a 6-hour Sunday. That's 2 sets that take 6 hours on Sunday. That's Week 12 here in the SPL. Here's to hoping Week 13 is just as fun.